The assembly of restored or new parts is always the first moment where you get your first dose of gratification during a restoration project. With this Suzuki, I waited 6 years to finally have a fresh, restored frame to build around. Before having it onto my lift with the first parts attached, I had to go through some crucial processes. The frame along with all the adjuncts was dropped off for sandblasting. When they came back, I treated all the spots that weren't perfectly clean with a wire brush. Then I began preparing the parts for powder coating. I plugged all the threaded holes with bolts and taped off the bearing seat, axle holes, bearing races, suspension mounting points, and any other areas I didn't want to be coated. Before dropping all of the parts off for powder coating, I had to fix everything that needed welding or grinding. The frame itself needed some welding. One of the ignition coil brackets was broken, and I also filled in some small pinholes that were left at the factory which weren't supposed to be there. While repairing the frame, I was at my brother's place, another sweet cave. He had an industrial scale and suggested it was a good opportunity to weigh a bare frame. The 1978 GS550 frame weighs 15.75 kilograms. The license plate bracket was missing 2 areas, and one of the rear fender reinforcement mounting brackets was broken. I've measured and designed the missing pieces and sent the project to my buddy who cut them on the laser. We'll weld it in here. We'll cut this one first, of course. 2 broken parts from the rear of a Suzuki. I just found a photo of those parts and measured the width of it and scaled the rest of it. Perfect fit. Time to grind it and weld it in. Got my hands on 2 turn signal brackets. It was all bent, not fully straight. That should work. Perfectly flat. The seat pan was such a mess, I have to make an entire episode about its restoration process. As for the powder coating, all the parts were first treated with a zinc powder primer before receiving the final coat of paint. I decided to use 2 different finishes, gloss and satin. Originally, the frame and most of the adjuncts had a finish that was somewhere between satin and gloss. Since powder coating never produces a full gloss finish, I opted for gloss black paint for most of the parts. Original paint doesn't look like gloss, but doesn't look like satin too. For certain parts that originally appeared more satin or matte, like the airbox, registration plate bracket or triple clamp, I used satin black powder coating. With the frame on the lift and all parts freshly coated, I began selecting the necessary hardware for initial assemblies from the pile of zinc-coated elements. Those pulleys that go into here are a little bit loose. They're supposed to turn around the bolt that goes in here, because they are not so loose that you get a free play here, but they probably will wear these elements in time. So I got a quick fix for this. I will try to put some silicone bronze on it with TIG, put them on the lathe and make this dimension a little bit wider. I just want to put a couple of points which will prevent them from turning inside. Here is how it looks like. A bit of silicone bronze on top. We got a couple hundredths of a millimeter. We got a side stand. Rear Swingarm Assembly. On a 78 model there were two types of bearing inner races, and there were two lengths, like this one and this one. Or got some grooves in it, so I won't be reusing this one, but it was close. And this is like a horror. Yeah, and then if you're using the shorter one, you have to use a longer spacer inside, and if you're using longer one, you have to use shorter spacer inside. So I'll be looking for two of those or one of these. Anyway, they are pretty expensive. I was hoping I can get a new one or used one from a guy that supplied some of those parts, but he sent me this, so a bummer. OEM seals, washers, everything's ready. I ordered one more from a Suzuki, super expensive. Those are hardened. I could do one on lathe myself, but it's hard to grind the finish like this, so I ordered this one and will use this spacer. New bearings, because the last one were non-existent basically. Rotten. Selection of rear fenders. I collected a couple of those. Original one, this one has a varnish and was cut, and this one is the best one probably. Original one got a crack in here, which is weldable, holes, and this was a one for some kind of safety switch. The last one scuffed here and there. I just have to weld those two parts, but it should be easy fix. It's you won't be able to see that there was anything here. So I cleaned them up. It's made of ABS. It starts to bubble. And it's good enough for normal use, but I'm not satisfied with this finish. It's decent, but not good enough. So ABS is hygroscopic. It accumulates moisture inside of it. It's porous and takes water. So I want to dry the fender and the filament. But this is a dryer I made. It's made from food dryer for fruits or mushrooms, and I just cut this from a polypropylene bucket, and usually I just put a filament spool in it. I made a cover on my sewing machine. It's, you know, semi-sealing, but it works. It's like a balloon right now, and drying time is around 4 hours. You dry a filament and a fender 70 degrees, and that's it. From 80 grit to around 5,000 or maybe 1500 grit. First pass of sandpaper, and here is the inside hole on the left side. A chain guard. There was a big hole right here. I welded this part in. After 120 grit. For the rear fender assembly, I replaced the deteriorated rubber grommets with new 3D printed ones. The new grommets which I designed should be much more durable, since they are made of synthetic rubber that won't deteriorate over time as the original grommets did. try to do this last step probably, because it may polish it a bit. Grease here, just to protect this part from moisture. Main bolt, and then we will pinch the top shelf, not to put a pressure on between those shelves. The run out is normally in motocross, the run out up to 2 mm is allowable, and I will be thinking about rechroming this, because this wheel is really perfect, no bumps, nothing. I'm not restoring the wheels yet, I will brush the hell out of it. Much thicker. The drum is in spec, so install.